Well, sometimes you wake up and you get a gem. You get a gem of a headline. Now, I don't know which is true. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth when it comes to certain details of the Ukrainian war. It may come out in 150 years from now or less or more. What really happened with the Nord Stream pipeline? According to this headline, the U.S. had intelligence of detailed Ukrainian plan to attack the Nord Stream pipeline. 3 months before the saboteurs bombed the Nord Stream natural gas pipeline, Biden administration learned from a close ally that the Ukrainian military had planned a covert attack on the undersea network using a small team of divers who reportedly directly to the commander in chief of Ukraine armed forces. Details about the plan, which have not been previously reported, were collected by European intelligence services and shared with the CIA in June 2020. They provided some of the most specific evidence to date linking the government of Ukraine to the eventual attack of the Baltic Sea, which the U.S. and Western officials have called a brazen and a dangerous act of sabotage on Europe's energy infrastructure. So did Ukraine just declare war on Germany? Because that's where the natural gas was going to Germany. So is this an act, a war against a NATO member state? Let's hear intelligent reports were based on information obtained by the individual in Ukraine. The source information cannot immediately be corroborated, but the CIA shared a report with Germany and other European countries last June, according to multiple officials familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive intelligence operations, diplomatic discussions. The highly specific detail, which includes the number of operations and method of attack, showed that for nearly a year, Western allies had a basis to suspect Kyiv in the sabotage. That assessment has only strengthened in recent months as German law enforcement investigators uncovered evidence about the bombing that bears striking similarities to what happened in Europe. In the European service said Ukraine was planning. Officials in multiple countries confirmed that the intelligence summary posted in a Discord accurately stated that European services told the CIA the post agreed to withhold the name of the European country as well as some aspect of the suspected plan at the request of government officials who said exposing the information would threaten sources and operation. Ukrainian officials have previously denied the country was involved in the Nord Stream attack and did not respond to requests for comment. The White House declined to comment on a detailed set of questions of the European report that alleged Ukrainian military plot, including whether the U.S. officials tried to stop the mission from proceeding. The CIA also declined to comment. On September 26th, 3 underwater explosions caused a massive leak of Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipeline, leaving only one of 4 gas links in the network intact. Some of Biden administration's officials initially suggested that Russia was to blame for what President Biden called a deliberate act of sabotage, promising that the United States would work with its allies to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. With winter approaching, it appeared the Kremlin might have been intended to strangle the flow of energy in an act of blackmail. Some leaders said designated to intimidate European countries into withdrawing their financial and military support for Ukraine and refraining from further actions. Biden administration has officially now privately conceded that there's no evidence conclusively points to Moscow involvement, but publicly have deflected questions about who might be responsible. There's definitely a theory that Joe Biden's responsible and actually gave the order, and that the U.S. military conducted this operation. But I don't know if that's true or not. That's just a theory. European officials in several countries have quietly suggested that Ukraine was behind the attack, but resisted publicly saying so over fears that blaming Kyiv could fracture the alliance against Russia. At gatherings of European and NATO policymakers, officials have settled into rhythm, as one senior European diplomat said recently, don't talk about Nord Stream. But that's not all. That's not all. I mean, there's more updates. I mean, major dam collapses in southern Ukraine, flooding villages as Moscow and Kyiv trade blame. I think this is. Oh, I don't want to do that. I thought that was a picture. Let's see here. Kherson, Ukraine, AP, a major dam in the southern Ukraine collapsed Tuesday, flooding villages, endangering crops, and threatening drinking water supplies as both sides in the war scrambled to evacuate residents and blame each other for the destruction. One could argue it was Russia because they invaded the country, they bombed the dam, or bombs went off near the dam while they had under slim control, didn't do the repairs necessary. Or maybe Ukraine actually blew this one up too. Ukraine accused Russian forces of blowing up the Kavavaka Dam and hydraulic power stations, which sits in the Dnieper River in the area of Moscow controlled. For more than a year, Russian officials blame Ukrainian bombardment in the contested area where the river separates the two sides. It's not possible to reconcile the conflict claims. Russian and Ukraine officials use terms like ecological disaster and terrorist act to describe the torrent of water gushing through the broken dam at the beginning to empty a upstream reservoir that is one of the world's largest. Wow. Either go big or go home. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for the largest man-made environmental disaster in Europe in decades. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called it another devastating consequences of Russian invasion of Ukraine. As homes, streets, businesses flooded, authorities expressed concerns about drinking water supplies. Emergency crews evacuated thousands of people from Ukraine and Russia-controlled areas. In the downstream city of Khorussia, angry residents cursed as they tried to preserve their pets and belongings. A woman who gave her name only as Tatiana waded through the water through thigh-deep water to reach her flooded house to rescue her dogs that were standing on a dry surface. They could find, but one pregnant dog was missing. It's a nightmare, she kept repeating, declining to give her full name. See here, there's your. I don't know what I'm looking at, to be honest. Russia controlled, Russia advanced. Ukrainian countered, which doesn't show any. Oh, it shows it right here. Both Russia and Ukraine authorities brought in trains and buses to move residents to safety. About 25,000 people in Russian-controlled areas and about 17,000 in Ukraine-held territories should be evacuated. Ukraine Deputy Chief Prosecutor Victoria Lindanova said that the Ukrainian television that neither side reported any deaths or injuries, which is awesome. A satellite photo of Tuesday morning by Planet Labs PBC, analyzed by the Associated Press, showed more than 60 meters over 1,900 feet missing from the wall of the 1950-era dam. The dam break, which both sides long feared, added a stunning new dimension to the Russia's war. Now, in its 16th month, Ukrainian forces were widely seen to be moving forward with the long-anticipated counteroffensives. in patches along more than 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, up front of the line of east and south. Not immediately clear why either side might destroy the dam, but its collapse might have resulted from gradual degradation. Both Russian controlled and Ukraine held landmines were at risk. They held land were at risk. So I think it was really just a degradation and not enough resources were repairing it, in my humble opinion. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu charged that Ukraine destroyed the dam to prevent Russian attacks in from the Kherson region after what he alleges was a failed Ukrainian counteroffensive. He claims that Ukraine lost 3,715 troops and 52 tanks since Sunday, and in a rare acknowledgement of Russia's own losses, he said 71 Russian troops were killed and 210 wounded. Ukraine followed the standard practice of not commenting on casualties, which is interesting. You want to know how dire it is? You should tell us your casualties. We're helping you fund your war, Zelensky. Zelensky told reporters that his government knew last year that Russia had mined the dam, so there may have come a moment where the explosion occurs. Other Ukrainian officials allege Russia blew up the dam to hinder Kyiv's counteroffensive, even though observers noted that crossing the broad Dnieper would be extremely challenging. Other sectors of the front line are more likely avenues of the attack, analysts said. Nigel Gold-Davis, a senior fellow Russian and East Asia at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, called the alleged Russian destruction of the dam a profoundly defensive measure, showing the lack of confidence in Russia's longer-term prospect in the war. I mean, that's all speculation. Let's keep in mind that's just speculation. I don't know how this war is going to end. It could be that Russia's winning, and at the last minute, Ukraine crushes their offense in the defensive move, and vice versa. It could be Ukraine's winning, followed by Russia defeating their offensive in a defensive manner, crushing the remaining of the military. With war, it's really hard to say. I mean, you can't really predict how war is going to go unless you're the United States attacking a Middle Eastern country that doesn't have the trained military to counter such offenses. Let's hear. Experts have previously said that the dam was in disrepair, which could have also led to the breach. Dave Helms, a retired American scientist who has monitored the reserve, sent an email. It wasn't clear if the damage was deliberate or a simple neglect by occupying Russian forces, but Helm also noted that Russia's history of attacking dams. Are you going to give me evidence of them attacking dams? I mean, I know that we attacked the dam in Nazi Germany. There's a famous movie that showed the Allied forces doing that. Underscoring the global repercussions, wheat prices have jumped 3% after the collapse. It's unclear whether the surge was due to a real threat of floodwaters destroying crops. I mean, it's very tragic, don't get me wrong, it's very tragic. Ukraine and Russia are key global suppliers of wheat, barley, sunflower oil, and other foods to Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. This is a win for the United States because we get to grow all of that without hindrance. Authorities, experts, and residents have been concerned for months about water flowing through and over the Kakhavaka Dam after heavy rains and snowmelt last month. Water levels rose beyond normal, flooding nearby villages. Satellite images show water washing over the damaged sluice gates. See here, alleged Russian forces set off a blast inside the dam structure at 2 8:50 a.m. Monday and said about 80 settlements were in danger. Kremlin spokesman, not spokesman, but Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called it a deliberate act of sabotage by the Ukrainian side aimed water at cutting water to Crimea. The White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters the reporters that the U.S. cannot say conclusively what happened and declined to assess the impact of Ukraine's counteroffensive. Both sides warned of looming environmental disasters from polluted water, partly caused by oil leaking from the dams, machinery, and farmland deprived of irrigation. Ukraine Interior Ministry urges residents of 10 villages on the Dnieper western bank and parts of the city of Korish to gather essential documents and pets, turn off appliances, and leave. The Russian installed mayor of Nova, I don't know how to say these words, Kovahaka, which had a pre-war population of about 45,000, said the city is being evacuated. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's biggest, relies in part of the water from the dam, is now emptying reserve. The UN International Atomic Energy Agency report no immediate risk of safety of the plant, whose 6 reactors have been shut down for months but still needs water for cooling. Said at the rate of the drop of the dam reservoir levels increase from 5 centimeters 2 inches to 9 centimeters 3.5 inches an hour that could be depleted in a couple of days. The plant has alternative water sources and it can last for months, which is good. They have a plan B. According to the IAEA, Ukrainian authorities have previously warned that the dam's failure could unleash a volume of water estimated nearly equivalent of the Great Salt Lake in the U.S. state of Utah. Mahakhalil Podolak, a senior advisor to Zelensky, warned thousands of animals and ecosystems will be destroyed. In the incident that drew international condemnation, including from Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz and the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who said this outrageous act demonstrates once again the brutality of Russia's war in Ukraine. Sorry, NATO, you could have stopped this. NATO could have stopped the war in Ukraine by saying that Ukraine will never be a NATO country. NATO could have solved this by not kicking Russia out when they attacked Georgia. They could have stopped this by even entertaining Russia's concerns with Georgia and Ukraine. Ukraine controlled 5 of the 6 dams along the Dnieper, which runs from the northern border with Belarus down to the Black Sea and is crucial for the country's drinking water and power supply, and that Russia occupied Crimea. Ukraine and Russia previously accused each other of attacking the dam. I think what it was is during the battle of taking the dam or land around the dam, both sides dropped bombs that weakened the dam and it just happened to break. I don't think it was ill intention, but I do think Russia didn't put a whole lot of resources in shoring up the dam. Now, that's just my humble opinion. I may be right, I may be wrong, but that is the Ukrainians' update. I mean, we were told by, I forgot what his name was, that the U.S. government bombed the pipelines. Now they're saying that it was Ukrainian governments that did it. And now this dam is happening. Those are some pretty big updates. We kind of already knew that it was either Ukrainians that did the pipeline or the Americans did or someone with that caliber. But honestly, I think this dam is just a natural disaster caused by poor maintenance that the Russians didn't shore up after they took it. And I don't even know if they really took it. They could have loosely had control over it because they're in the middle of a war in Ukraine, and that's in Ukraine. Unfortunately, those things happen, and hopefully, all the innocent people don't have to suffer for too much longer over this event. That being said, that is my video for today. Have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.